Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and welcome back to some Heroes of the Storm gameplay. Today I'm going to be playing some Lunara. I realized when I was looking over my videos that although Lunara is one of my favorite heroes, and although I've played her a couple of times on the channel with friends, and kind of given some tips and stuff while playing, and obviously played probably decent games that you can learn a bit from, I don't think I've ever done like a specific sort of Lunara analysis or commentary, kind of actually talking in detail about what's going on. Also worth noting as we go into this game that I am kind of the odd man out here, and we have a 4-man team with us, and we're against a 5-man team. But yeah, like they're like insulting each other like crazy. Don't worry, they're just trolling each other for fun. They're not actually raging like hell. At least I don't think so. So yeah, there you go. But anyway, Lunara, what's she like? So Lunara is, I think she's absolutely awesome. She's a right-click type hero. Basically, the core to how she works is down here. It's Nature's Toxin, that her basic attacks, damaging abilities, poison the target, and it deals damage every second for 3 seconds. You can stack it for up to 9 seconds. You'll see below here, when you hit a hero, you'll see it now whenever I hit someone with a basic attack. A single leaf will appear underneath them. There we go. And then you hit them a second time, a second leaf pops up, a third time, a third leaf pops up, and that basically gives you an indication of how long your poison is going to last on a target. So that's a very useful thing to be looking out for when you're playing Lunara that you might not be aware of if you haven't played it before. Her W also going to interact with this in a very important way. So people who currently have the poison on them, it will increase the duration by 3 seconds, so it will effectively apply an additional leaf or an additional basic attack's worth of poison to them. And they'll also be slowed for 3 seconds, so it'll be 40% and sort of decay. So it's kind of nice. You're going to use this in 2 respects. Number 1, to slow heroes down, and number 2, to also apply an increased amount of poison as well. We're also going to pick up some talents that are going to interact with it. Her Q is not that useful. It's like a very, very small AoE. You'll see me using it. There it is. That was it right there. Small little AoE that pops on the ground after half a second. It does some damage. It's quite hard to land. And obviously this applies your poison as well to whoever's caught in it. I like to use this bit for, you know, you can hit the range minions in a wave, or when the butcher comes in like this, I might try to hit him with it. In this case, he actually dodged it, but he's going to die from the poison anyway. And then her E, fairly unusual ability really, is that you create a wisp. It's got a long cooldown, 30 seconds. You can see, oh Jesus, Thrall sucks. It says Thrall, thanks for that, Thrall. But you can scout out an area. Level 4 talent makes this much better, but basically on this map I'm going to be looking to place it maybe around these turn-in points, just to scout stuff out. Basically putting it in a bush somewhere. Try to get a bit of advanced vision or scouting stuff out. It does die in a single hit. It has like 1 HP, so it does die very quickly, so just be careful about that. Open up the talents here. We'll take a little look at these level 1 and 4 talents. We're just joking in the chat here. I picked up Natural Perspective at level 1. This is probably the one that's most commonly picked up, as you can see from the red eye above Johanna and now above the Butcher. Anyone who has got my poison on them, we can see them. It's useful for attacking people over walls, or people who try to dodge into vents, or anything like that. It's a pretty nifty little talent. There's also one here I like on level 1 as well, which increases the radius of your Q. Lets that be a little bit more effective, because it is pretty difficult to hit. Then level 4, picked up Nimble Wisp, which improves the Wisp's movement speed by 100% and the vision radius by 50%. Makes it much easier to use that Wisp, just to get it placed somewhere effective on the map and then just seeing a bit more. It's a pretty nice ability overall. See, shit is going down right here. Poor choice of engagement there by the enemy team walking into that, and there you go. You can see that Oriel has put her crown on us, so she is basically generating a lot of hope. And we're probably going to be her main target for that because we do so much damage on Lunara. That's how Lunara kind of works. So basically, this talent build is going to feed into, I suppose, Lunara's sort of basic playstyle. It's the most synergistic build we're going to be going into over the course of this game. Effectively working with her base kit, not really changing it up. Essentially what we're going to be doing is, you know, basic attacking heroes and trying to stay safe in the back lines. Worth noting as well, you don't have a mount, but you move 20% faster by doing these little hops. It does take a bit of getting used to, especially like stutter stepping and stuff with Lunara. Definitely takes some getting used to. It's got a bit of a weird feel to it, so you might not get it 100% all the time. But opposed to, let's say, like Raynor, yeah, let's say Raynor's a good actually comparison, as opposed to Raynor, where you're like, ideally, you know, we're gonna try focus down one priority target with our basic attacks, and then we'll shoot other stuff if we have to, you know, just to stay safe. With Lunara, most of your damage doesn't come from the basic attacks themselves, but rather from the poison that you're applying with those basic attacks. So, I mean, if someone is fully stacked up with poison, you're not getting that much more value. Instead, what you're gonna want to do with Lunara is to spread that poison around as much as possible. That's gonna be one of your big goals in team fights as you go forwards, is like layering up a few stacks of poison on, you know, as many targets as you feasibly can. And just trying to maintain that sort of damage. And she just does a lot of damage then over the course of the fight. Just churning out that poison damage. It can be very effective. You can see here, as we're pushing in, I picked up a talent that's very important. Nature's Culling at level 7, which increases the damage of your poison by 150% to non-heroes. As you can see, it just shreds through the structures. You can see the darker health bars on the structures is that poison. You just tear through minion waves, through mercenaries, through objectives, immortals, punishers, forts, keeps, everything. The core as well. Everything just melts before you. It's an incredibly effective talent. Very, very nice indeed. I personally love this one. It just improves your siege damage so much and your ability to push in so much. I think she's great on this map, especially with this, because it helps defend against web weavers and helps make your web weaver pushes so much stronger too. But here you go. I mean, it's been a pretty straightforward game so far. You can see him kind of hopping around. Luckily, actually, I got to last pick her in the draft here, kind of seeing everything that was going to be picked. And it's actually worked out a really nice draft for me. Obviously, I have to watch out for the Butcher jumping on me, but I'm pretty safe, honestly, from Gul'dan, who's got pretty short range. Johanna and Morales aren't much of a threat because I can just kite them. Sylvanas, I can probably out-trade her one-on-one. So, like, there's not much of a threat here. Other heroes that you're fighting against can out-trade you, and you have to be careful. But certainly in this game, I was able to go pretty aggressive and just kind of go in without too much fear, to be honest. And just really make stuff happen, really start applying that poison. And you're going to see that the sort of damage that we're able to output is going to be kind of nuts. At level 10, whoop, we did pick up the Thornwood Vine Heroic. This is the one I always go for myself. It just ties into the playstyle we're going for here. So you can hold 3 charges. You see them down here recharging. And it's this line skill shot. It does actually a sizable chunk of damage, about as much as the Q. In fact, oh, just a tiny, tiny bit more than the Q. But it's a nice little bit of damage, and you can just use this to basically poke heroes at long range. Remember that it applies your poison as well. Falstad is very right. Johanna, for some reason, picked up block. I guess she was looking at the Thrall, who hits kind of hard. I think it's still a bad choice, though. Should be tanky enough with the Morales, but oh well. But yeah, I mean, you can just use this heroic. You'll see in team fights what I'll try to do is to fire that through, you know, 2 or 3 heroes at a time. Try to hit Morales as well. You can see right there, I'm actually using it to just layer down some wave clear, in fact. Just because I felt the enemy team was probably looking to engage. The Butcher does land a charge, but he's really not able to push in anymore because their teammates were nearby. Just trying to secure that mid lane, make sure we could pick up that siege camp kind of safely, or the bruiser camp kind of safely. Walking into turret range because I'm a noob and I misclicked. And yeah, here we go. Also taking out these walls on this map just to make things a little bit easier for ourselves. Not too important. Maybe doesn't help Falstad or Tyrael that much, but helps the rest of us. Nice engage from the enemy team, but a beautiful gust by Falstad gets us out of there just okay. So well played by him. Falstad is shouting pay. Again, I do think these guys are just trolling each other in chat. But I mean, here we go, guys. This is Lunara. She's like, honestly, she's a pretty simple hero to play in terms of her abilities. The big thing, there you go, you can see firing that ore through both of those heroes, layering up that damage, hitting that W as well just to slow them down and stack it up even more, just to ensure we can go here. Saw that Johanna was dead, so I'm going to fire an attack on Morales. I think the thing that really is difficult about Lunara is just getting used to her weird movement pattern and getting used to her range and being able to stutter step with her. It definitely takes getting used to, because it's so different from other heroes, but that's really where all the difficulty comes from. There's not much aside from that. You can see there, the Butcher, he tries to charge in with us. We hit him with the Q, hit him with the Nor, and then the poison. He just takes a whole lot of damage. It's going nuts. It's funny. Doing the bats and such. So much rage is right. But hopefully you're getting a sense as well from this game. Just watch my positioning in the team fights and where I'm going. You see, I'm constantly looking at enemy heroes and going like, can they attack me? If not, alright, I get to move up kind of aggressively and start hitting them with those basic attacks. Just trying to layer up that poison on as many targets as possible as well. In some of the other games you'll see me playing Lunara, it'll obviously be more difficult. There'll be less targets that can kind of focus me down. You can see, for example, they're getting good damage down in the Gul'dan. Gul'dan definitely going too far forwards, being too aggressive. I'm kind of running into the wall again, which is a bit of a noob move. But yeah, as you can see, not too much fear here on my part, able to move in forwards. See here, for example, we're pushing into this keep. We know that the enemy Gul'dan is dead, so this is going to be a pretty solid push. You see, able to push in, very aggressive, just moving off to the side, just kind of spreading out as well from the team, so that we're not going to take too much kind of grouped damage or be hit by like a wailing arrow or something that could really hurt. Just kind of spreading out, moving aggressively around this keep, trying to make sure to maintain that poison on the structures as well. It's worth noting too that the poison, it doesn't do, you know, more damage per tick the more you stack it up. So long as you have one stack of poison on the structure at any given time, it's still doing the maximum DPS. Just those additional hits will make it last longer, so it's not too important really. Just make sure you have it on at all times, and then you can kind of point your attention elsewhere. I mean, if you hit the keep 3 times, you kind of go cool for the next 9 seconds, don't have to worry about that, gonna go hit other stuff, awesome, and then, you know, your W will probably increase the duration once or twice as well. Oriole's joking, saying a tough game. It has been a very, very stompy game so far. So I'm just gonna troll them now and start shouting pay. But yeah, like, I really think the Lunara pick was great in this case. I think it's worked fantastically well. It's really enabled our pushes. In fact, we can open up the stats here. You can see the damage we're putting out is absolutely absurd. We've got 40k hero damage. The next is Falstad with 21k. We've got 80k siege damage. The next is Falstad with 60k. So we're putting out a whole ton of damage right here. Very difficult for the enemy team to deal with it. Level 13, I have picked up Unfair Advantage. So your poison does 50% more damage to heroes that are slowed. Now remember that our W, our Crippling Spores, does slow down heroes. So that's going to be pretty nuts. See here as well. Bing, 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 bing. Everything just goes nuts. So I did die in that fight, but I think it was worthwhile to die in that fight. I was just going forwards. Again, positioning kind of aggressively to the north there, and just firing basically AoE shots into their team, stacking up a lot of poison, getting a lot of damage down. They did pick me off, but between my damage and then Thrall's Sunder, the whole enemy team just popped. I thought it was a beautiful, it makes a really nice sound actually. It's like bing, 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 bing. It was perfectly spaced out, and then the nice ascending tones. Very nice, very nice. Make a musical symphony. But yeah, this Unfair Advantage, it adds a lot of damage. You know, 50% more damage from your poison, and again, bearing in mind, your poison is one of your main sources, in fact it is your main source of damage. So that really adds up. It also makes Lunara combo very well with heroes that apply slows. Arthas would be perhaps the most obvious one that combos really well with her, because hey, not only does he constantly apply slows to heroes in melee range, but he also is this big, tanky, beefy frontline that can, you know, zone out heroes that try to dive on her, and just gets in between Lunara and then the enemy team essentially. So it really enables her to go aggressive. Whereas, let's say, if you got a much weaker frontline, you can have a really, really tough time dealing with that. At level 16, I got Starwood Spear, so when we use our W, our Crippling Spores, it increases our basic attack range by 50% for 6 seconds. So it enables you to just kind of poke even more safely from the back. There's other options to go for here, but this is the one I decided would be good in this particular match. You can see the Gust didn't quite work because Johanna was unstoppable, but the whole enemy team is melting down. Nice hammer by Falstad actually picks up the Sylvanas, and there you go, another mega kill. Bing, 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 bing. The whole enemy team falls, and that is pretty awesome. At level 20, you got a couple of options that I really like. You can improve her heroic. You can make these go faster and further, which is kind of nice. Or you can get her a mount ability, which gives you a huge speed buff for a short time, which is also really nice as well. In this game, I probably would have gone for just the bigger damage. People are just joking here. BG, BG. Okay, let me open this up. Let's rewind a few seconds here. We can check out the stats and see how we did at the end. But I mean, a really, really smooth Lunara game. Pretty much flawless, honestly. Can't complain too much. Here we go. Let's throw in the pause right there. Awesome. But yeah, I would have gone probably for the damage, just improving that heroic at level 20. Didn't feel like I was in any much danger at all throughout this game. We kind of had the enemy team kind of locked down and under wraps. I mean, we have the Oriole Crystal Aegis as well, which can save anyone who does get caught and lamb to the slaughter, if worst comes to worst. But there you go, looking at the damage there at the very end. As you can see, Lunara able to output, just a crazy amount of damage. We did 60k hero damage. The next best was Thrall at 30k. We did 89k siege damage. The next best was Falstad at 76k. So, I mean, her damage output is insane. It's not bursty, it's this sort of slow, steady damage. Just make sure, I've seen other people playing Lunara, kind of newer to Lunara, and they'll just be focusing their basic attacks on one target. Like, for example, be just fighting there, and they'll just be hitting Johanna over and over and over again. And once your poison is fully stacked, like, sure, you're going to hit her as opposed to doing nothing, but if you can, you want to be focusing on getting your poison onto other heroes. And that's basically what this build is trying to do, especially with that range at 16. And with your Thornwood Vines, you're really looking to spread out your damage as much as you can. Maybe, like, especially when you hit heroes with AoE, like if you land a good Thornwood Vine, then you're going to hit your W, okay? You don't want to use it really on one hero. You want to spread it out, slow down the enemy team as much as possible, or, you know, use it at an opportune time to slow them down. Probably the ideal thing is, you know, fire Thornwood Vine through, catch a couple of heroes, 2 or 3 heroes, hopefully, then hit them with the W, then use the additional range to start spreading your poison around more heroes. And yeah, you'll do a lot of damage that way. And just keep an eye on those little leaves under the targets, and you'll have a great time. Anyway, short little video today, but I hope it was helpful. I just realized I didn't have a proper Lunara commentary video, and she is such a strong hero and such a fun hero too. Yeah, cool. Just have a bit of patience when you pick her up, getting used to her mount ability. Those little hops, they definitely take getting used to, but once you do, she's a blast to play. Not too difficult, and extremely effective. It's all about kind of positioning and keeping an eye on which heroes you're able to hit. So there you go, guys. Give it a like if you liked it, if you learned something, and I will see you all next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Bye bye.